Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello, my name is Debbie from NDIS Property Australia, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, the show that explains, highlights, guides, and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. This is our monthly SDA Unlocked episode where we delve into the supply and demand data for specialist disability accommodation in different areas around Australia. Today I'm talking about Bendigo in Victoria. Now, Bendigo is obviously a very old town located about 150 kilometres northwest of Melbourne. Now, just a bit of history on Bendigo and current planning, infrastructure development, etc. Bendigo's initial rapid expansion economically and socially was fueled by the discovery of gold deposits in the 1850s, and that wealth from the mining of gold was considerable, resulting in an architectural legacy that is reflected in the number of historic buildings that categorise the inner city area. With an expected population growth of over 40% between 2015 and 2036, Bendigo is considered one of the key regional centres to accommodate future population growth and progress within the state of Victoria. The City of Greater Bendigo adopted the Greater Bendigo Residential Strategy as a key strategy for managing urban growth from 2014 to 2034. And this strategy was drafted in response to projected urban growth and ongoing diversification of Bendigo's economy. Importantly, there is an increasing community support and desire for planning goals and strategies towards diverse, healthy communities and transit-oriented development, alongside increased demand for smaller lots and infill development in established areas. Now, this strategy basically covers 5 sections: a connected city. The first planning goal is to consider the benefits and opportunities that the existing infrastructure offers the city and the community. The first objective is focused on sustainable transport and connectivity between Bendigo and regional cities and activity centres, encouraging growth along transport corridors. And we know that Bendigo is actually the Bendigo railway station is a junction of several lines, including the Bendigo Melbourne line, and also lines connecting Swan Hill, Echuca, and the Eagle Hook Inglewood lines. And of course, the V line service operates to Melbourne. Other geophysical and socio-economic factors in this Greater Bendigo residential strategy were a city of equality. The second planning goal is to locate areas for future growth in proximity to education institutions and health services, which are 2 basic requirements in every person's life. This goal is of particular significance for a city like Bendigo, which has been renowned for its healthcare facilities and services. We have 2 major hospitals, the Bendigo Base Hospital and the St John of God Private Hospital. Now, an ecological city. This planning goal supports the protection of reserved forest and native vegetation, acknowledging the importance for flora and fauna, considering biodiversity is one of the most important visions for the sustainable growth of the city. Number 4, a safe city. This goal recognises that the area can be affected by natural threats and disasters. Therefore, future developments should avoid certain areas which are vulnerable to flood and bushfire risks, which are held as the 2 greatest dangerous risks to the city in the past couple of decades. Lastly, a compact city. The last goal emphasises the importance of proximity between urban developments in order to take advantage of existing resources, infrastructure and facilities in the urbanised city core of the city, thus to reduce the total cost of housing development and safeguard housing affordability to accommodate increasing urban population in the city. So that all sounds very good. Basically, they've got a plan, they're working on it, and they're trying to build a bigger, better Bendigo for the state of Victoria. So, yeah, we've got some properties for sale at the moment in Bendigo. We looked at the data and see that overall there is a really strong demand and not a great amount of development going on. So definitely undersupplied in terms of specialist disability accommodation. So I'm just going to run through this report that I've got here in front of me. Bendigo is, if you've heard me before talk about the different statistical areas, SA3, SA4, also SA2, which is a smaller population area. They're all Bendigo. So we've got Bendigo SA4, which takes in the SA3 regions of Bendigo, Heathcote, Castlereagh, Kyneton and Loddon, Elmore. And Bendigo SA3 has the suburbs of Ascot Vale, Bendigo, California Gully, Eaglehawk, East Bendigo, Flory Hill, Golden Square, Kangaroo Flat, Kennington, Maiden Gully, Spring Gully, Strathfield, and White Hills. Forgive me if I've mispronounced any of those words, those names. So anyway, it's a large area, but we can delve into the SA3 data fairly well. Unfortunately, for some of the information that the NDIA provide, we only have that as far as the greater SA4. But it is probably of interest that the majority of not only NDIS participants, but also enrolled places and new build dwellings are in the Bendigo SA3 rather than the larger areas. So obviously it's very rural outside of the city, and that's why most of the development is in the city itself. So just to touch on the demand, we have in Bendigo SA3 just under 5,000 NDIS participants, of which 166 have SDA funding. That is 3.3% of all SDA participants, so a little lower than the national average. The NDIA has also projected a demand for SDA of 11% by 2032. Now, as for where those participants are currently living, out of the 166, 109 of them are in an SDA, 57 are not. So they have funding in their plan, but they're not currently living in an SDA property. So that is roughly 2/3 in SDA, 1/3 not. So you're thinking, well, that's 57. That's still a decent demand. But we always look into the current enrolled supply where those participants are currently living. And it seems that quite a lot of the current supply is in existing and legacy homes. Legacy being 6 tenant and above group homes that will be defunded in the coming few years, and existing, which are older style homes that often do not meet the new build requirements of SDA and are very often not fit for purpose. So we have 26 out of 54. So 50% of the enrolled dwellings in Bendigo are existing in legacy. And if we break that down into the number of residents and places, we've got 133 enrolled places, and about 2/3 of that is in dwellings for 4 or more residents, i.e. group homes and legacy homes. So that is a large percentage of the SDA participants that are currently living in group homes and old style properties. So we know that a lot of those properties will be defunded. There are currently 2 legacy homes in the area, so they will be defunded, but also those group homes the NDIA has recommended the phasing out of, and the existing ones that do not necessarily give the participants the choice and control that they should have in living in their own home. They will likely, once new stock comes available, those participants may choose to move out into the new build because it suits their needs better. Now, when we look at the supply, the bigger picture of supply, we see that a lot of the properties that are there are built to high physical support, which is pretty much standard around the country. But we've also got quite a significant amount that are built to robust, whether that is to meet the demand or not. We no longer have the data of the different breakdown of participants in the individual areas that the NDIA used to give us, but I'm going to assume that that is probably because there is a demand there. Those robust places, fortunately, are all in single resident villas. We do have, unfortunately, one 4-resident robust property in the pipeline. Hopefully that may change. And we also have a lot more high physical support properties in the pipeline. And that is looking at the greater SA4. But as I said, about 80 to 90% of all the development and The participants are in the smaller SA3 of Bendigo City. So basically, when we analyse it, we have 166 participants who are currently vying for 133 places. So we already see an undersupply of demand, and more than half the places, in fact 84, are in group homes. Now, if we look at the bigger picture, it's much the same in the Greater SA4, 212 participants competing for 160 places, 106 of which are in group homes. Now, we've analysed the housing hub, which is basically the the realestate.com.au for disability housing. We've looked there to see what's being advertised in terms of vacancies in the area. And what we do see is the majority of advertised places in SDA are in group homes. And some of those are under construction, or some of the places are under construction. And again, when we look at the pipeline, we still have the number of places in new-build dwellings in the total SA4 area, 83. And that total demand in the SA4 is 212. We take in an 11% increase, that's going to go up even higher. So as you can see, the undersupply is really quite significant for Bendigo. And given the fact that there is a lot of group homes there, not so much development in the 3-tenant homes and even less in the 2-tenant homes, we would say that there is a really good opportunity for maybe a little more single tenants. We do have quite a few in the pipeline, single tenant properties for villas and no units, but for villas for sure. But I think we definitely have room for more 2-resident homes, apartments, potentially, if there is the right land to build those in the right areas in Bendigo. But definitely we have a huge undersupply of good quality new-build SDA in Bendigo. So look, if you are looking for a new area to invest in SDA, you're looking for somewhere that has the data that proves there's a demand, that this is definitely it. If you're looking for an area that is a growth town or a growth regional centre, Bendigo ticks all those boxes as well. And we do actually have some stock to sell off the plan in Bendigo. We do have some villas. We have some house and land packages as well. And yeah, we'd love to talk to you more about whether this might be something for you to consider as an SDA investment. So please do get in touch with us here at NDIS Property Australia. You can call our number 1300 254 397 or drop us an email to info@ndis.property. So I hope you got a bit out of that Bendigo SDA Unlocked this month, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.